sporty fragrances for active men. So basically, if you want a sporty fragrance, you usually want a refreshing fragrance. And refreshing usually correlates to citrus notes, aquatic notes, things that are nice and crisp and light and fresh. So I have a small list here of ones that I think are pretty good. So I'm going to start with probably one of the most popular options, which is Invictus from Paco Rabanne. This is a very popular fragrance right now. It has been for quite a while. So from this, you're going to get aquatic notes, citrus notes, some ambergris for a little bit of musk. But in general, this is a very light and fresh fragrance. This is, despite being fresh and refreshing, it's relatively long-lasting. It's probably moderate longevity, maybe 6 hours, which is surprising because usually lighter fragrances don't last that long, but this is a pretty good performer. Also, Invictus means invincible, so it is pretty good for working out and being in the zone. Besides this, I always think that a good alternative, if you don't like Invictus, you can always go for Aquamedia. This is of course an older fragrance from the 90s, but it's still very relevant today. This is similar because it does have the citrus notes, kind of the aquatic notes. This also has a lot of herbal notes, like rosemary especially, so that makes it not only fresh and crisp, but also it still has that kind of green, natural approach. So it's not super sharp or too intense, it's more of a light, breezy sort of fragrance that will definitely keep you feeling refreshed throughout the day. This is a bit weaker compared to Invictus. I would say this is probably 4-hour longevity. So, you can't really rely on it all day, but you can reapply it throughout the day, obviously, if you have like a little sample or something. But this is still good, just especially during the summer, just to freshen up. Because it is just a nice, kind of like splashing fresh water on yourself. It's just, has those citrus notes, has a nice kind of clean laundry sort of approach to things. So very nice. Not that expensive either. I think it's $50 or $60. Then, if you want something a little bit more invigorating, maybe a little bit different, you can always go for Polo Red. So this is kind of what I think of when I think of an active sort of fragrance for men. This is kind of a zesty sort of fragrance. It has ginger in it. And ginger, I know, is a very strange note to have in a fragrance, but ginger is that very sharp, zingy, energetic note. It is mixed with some smoother notes. There's some cranberry thrown in there. I believe there's some saffron for a little bit of warmth and spice. So what you're getting here is not your typical citrusy, aquatic, fresh fragrance, but rather kind of a zingy, spicy sort of fragrance that's still refreshing and pretty light. The cranberry does add a little bit of sweetness, kind of a fruity note, but in general this is pretty light, spicy, and pretty energetic, pretty an active fragrance. Longevity, I would say 5 hours, moderate, nothing crazy or anything. The ginger note does last the longest, along with the saffron, but this is a pretty nice fragrance if you want something different than the typical citrusy, crisp fragrance. Then, another departure is this. This is a unisex scent, Gentle Fluidity. So this is really, really refreshing because it has juniper berries mixed in, and juniper berries are very crisp and bright and almost like icy, and similar to the scent of pine needles a little bit, but I would say fresher and colder. And in general, this is just a very light, extremely crisp, cold fragrance. This is one of the few fragrances that does have that cold kind of approach. So very much like you've just jumped into some sort of glacial lake. So this is definitely a good option also because it's pretty long lasting, even though it is a lighter fragrance. It does probably last around 6 hours, so a little bit more than average. And this brand alone, very high quality, you know, this is a well-made fragrance. Then actually from the same brand is Aquamedia. This is also unisex, and this is similar to Gentle Fluidity except that it's a little more green. It has some green notes, green tea, more of a natural just approach to things. This is a little bit weaker in comparison to Gentle Fluidity, probably 5-hour longevity, but still very fresh, very cool and crisp, and really good, you know, if you're working out or going for a jog, or if it's just hot outside, you know, you want to freshen up, cool down. This is a really good option because it can do all of those things. It's a pretty persistent fragrance, performs very well. And again, from this brand, it's a very well-made fragrance. So you can't really go wrong with it. And the notes in it are very agreeable. Most people will probably like it. It's very smooth. But besides that, those are the main choices that I think are really, really good for, you know, sporty fragrances being active, especially when it's hot outside and you want to cool down. But that's pretty much all to say about that. So if you have any questions or opinions, you can always leave those down in the comment section below. If you like the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.